Hello everyone, Greg from the Game Fanatics here with Matt Kindt, author and artist of Mind Management, published by Dark Horse. It has received quite a bit of acclaim and is one of the titles I look forward to each month. Hey, listen, I appreciate you taking the time. I'm a big fan of the book. I picked up at C2E2 in April of this year at the Chicago Con,
Yeah.
and I read it that first night just in one sitting. It was just unlike anything else about it.
Cool,
So,
thanks.
yeah. So, for our listeners who might not be familiar with it, why don't you tell us a little about it? First of all, is it Mind MGMT or is it Mind Management?
It's mind management.
Mind Management. Okay. So,
I'll accept MGMT if you say that. I'll accept it, but either way.
so okay. For the uninitiated, what is it about?
The short answer is it's about spies with mind powers, and the long answer is it's about a woman who is a writer trying to uncover what happened to this secret organization called Mind Management. And they've disbanded, the government dissolved the organization, and she goes on a journey to figure out who the agents were, what they did, and what they're doing now. And it gets weird.
Yeah, it gets really weird and really awesome. But, so, spies, mind agents, where did this come from? How did you come up with, I want to write about secret agents with mental powers? Where does this kind of story come from? I mean,
honestly, every book is different, so the idea comes from a different place every time I start a project. This is the first time where I got the idea for the story from the title. And the title was given to me by a friend of mine who he was writing like a World War II, sort of like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like an epic, farcical World War II spy novel.
Nice.
And so I'm sort of reading the drafts as he goes through them, and he was sort of responding to my super spy graphic novel and sort of doing like a funny version of it in a way, like a super crazy novel-like version of that. So it was just a throwaway line in one of the chapters. He's writing about these spies who take all these classes. So they're going to spy school and they're taking dead drop economics and something else, and then mind management. And I was like, what's? I read that. I'm like, what in the world? Like those words were just like, it was like a laser beamed into my brain. And the next day I was like, hey, what's up with that? He's like, what are you talking about? He didn't remember writing it. And I was like, well, can I have that?
If you're not going to use it, can I?
Yeah, it's no problem. And so honestly, like it really came from that. I had, it's one of those things. It's like a lightning bolt. Like those two words put together, and like I had this whole idea for like this organization, and how the different agents you could have, and how you could train people to use their mind in different ways, and then what missions would they go on, and what form would their headquarters take. All this stuff, it just came to me in like this weird flood of ideas.
Nice, yeah. I know a little bit how that goes because I'm an amateur songwriter, so occasionally you just get hit with that kind of inspiration. So, but it's
isn't it great? That's the best. It's not easy all the time.
Yeah, it's either that or you have to work a long time for it. So either it comes to you all at once, or you have to really try out. So it's nice when it just hits you. So, being Wednesday, pick up my comics, but really, I was thinking, before this interview, there aren't any other books I read, that are anything like Mind Management. It's a very unique way of telling the story, between the characters, the art, and the different agencies of the management, how they interact with main character Maru. Now, where did she come from? Is she based on someone just kind of ideas, or just she needed a vehicle for the story? Or
yeah, I don't think her personality came from anybody in particular. And I honestly have to think about that because nobody's ever asked me. And that usually like characters are based on, or like there's a kernel of something that's real that I pull from, And with her, I think I don't really know. Like I know her name. I can tell you her name came from a class roster. I used to teach a comic book class, and so they give me like a list of all the students for the semester. And her name came from that list. I was like, what is that? That's a crazy name I never heard. And so I pulled her name from that, and then the rest of her is just, I like the idea of, somebody that was kind of innocent in this world that is full of these people with secrets, and like everybody's sort of been through the ringer, and then but I liked having one character who maybe has some innocence about her, and but then also has like a secret history too that we'll get into. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I've read the first trade, and a couple issues behind, but let's try and avoid spoiler territory, because once you find out more about her, it is a great moment. So
yeah, no, it's cool. That's why.
Let me put it this way: the series for me has one of the most what moments per issue than most comics I read. Most shockers. So that's really fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Honestly, I'm like 5 or 6 issues ahead, so then I forget what issue's coming out. Until I'm figuring about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the. And so then I forget what the reveal is every month.
So you get to enjoy it again then. So.
And then my wife gets mad because she is reading the issues as they come out. I don't give her anything ahead of time. She could certainly have it if she wanted to, but she wants to read the actual issues. So then I have to be careful. Every once in a while I'll spoil something. She's like, "What are you talking about? Don't say that." And I'm like, "Oh, sorry." Sorry. You'll find out. But
yeah, it's a really exciting book with so many twists and turns on the way. It's like I'm not even bothered guessing because I've been wrong so many times. Just enjoying the ride. Now you write and you do the art for it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the art do you use like pencils, watercolors? What kind of how do you draw it? Sorry, I wasn't.
No, I use watercolor paper. It's sort of like thicker. It's sort of Bristol board thickness, and then I pencil everything, and then ink it with a brush and waterproof ink, and then I paint over the top of it with watercolors and scan it all in, tweak it slightly in Photoshop, like if the colors, I shift the colors a little bit if I need to, and then just letter on top, letter in Illustrator, so I do the lettering on the computer, and then I turn it in.
Because it's very much a style to even on the shelves, it definitely stands out as the mind management style.
Yeah, cool. No, honestly, I used to be a designer, so part of the fun is trying to come up with a monthly cover, one cover a month, that's going to be different from the last one, still tell the story, feed into the whole arc, so each cover works together, but then also look different than the stuff on to the left and right of it.
Yeah, the only thing in summer I can think of maybe is Ben Templesmith with Fell or 10 Grand, do the kind of the watercolor stuff, but it's the way you bring the characters is very, very cool. So
cool, thanks.
So let's see. So I guess let's start with the beginning. So Flight 815.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that come from?
It was from Lost. But so I'm writing the script, and I'm like, well, I'm writing it. I'm like, well, I need a number. I just need a random number for this flight. It didn't matter to me what it was. I just needed a space filler. So I was like, oh, Flight 8, Lost.
Yeah. It's
so recent in my mind, I guess. I don't know if I'd watched it on DVD. I don't know when I wrote the script. I don't know. I was like, oh, Flight 815, that'll be funny to me, and then it'll just be a little in-joke that I think will be funny, And then so many people picked it up that I was kind of embarrassed by it. I was like, oh, I guess it's more famous than I thought, So it was a little bit embarrassed that so many people picked up on that coming from Lost. Not that I'm embarrassed a lot, I like Lost. But then I was worried that so eventually I found out that Dan Lindelof liked the series, and then I was mortified because I'm like, oh my god, now he's, I don't know what he thinks about that. It was just weird, And but then he thought great, and he liked it, and everything's good. So.
Cool. Yeah. So the series starts off with a plane full of sudden amnesia who no one just remembers where they are, or how they got there.
Yeah,
that's a pretty intense opening.
Yeah, no, that's funny. So now I had to put up with the joke from my dad every time I go on a flight. He's like, "Oh, I hope you remember who you are when you get there." Yeah, I get it.
So, that's kind of some people's fears. What if the pilot, not forgets, but becomes incapacitated. It's like, was that from current events or anything, or was it just kind of I need a way to introduce the powers of these people, or?
Yeah, no. Honestly, it was sort of. I like having some weird thing at the beginning where it's like, what was that about? And then later you find out, it's spoiling the first arc, but I really thought it was important to have Henry Lime in that first issue you know, so that for one, just so like you could go back and be like, oh, there he is, he's on the, you know, and then sort of just show that there is a plan for the series. You know, I think it's important to me that people know that I know where I'm going, you know, and so that you can trust me a little bit.
Oh, you know where you're going, okay. So.
yeah. So that's the thing. I think like you enter into kind of a trusting relationship when you do the serialized thing where not every question is answered right up front. And so I want to make sure readers would know, like by issue 6, that, hey, there's, you know, I put things in there for a reason, because I do know where it's going. I know where everybody's going to be, and you can trust me. If it doesn't make sense now, it will make sense, and it will pay off. So
yeah, I mean, that's especially that first 6 issues. There was a lot of build up, and then there's so much payoff at the end, which is very satisfying from a reader's point of view. Is that a lot of questions, but then at the end it's like, oh, so that's why A and B. Okay, wow. So
yeah, no, that's good, and I think that's important. Like I don't want to string people out forever. Like there's things that are a mystery only because they need to be for a certain period of time, but I'm not just stringing it out so you'll keep reading. I'm stringing it out just so that when you do find out it's a better story the way you find out.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to delay anything. If anything, I'm just trying to jam everything into it, you know. And I think when I pitched the series to Dark Horse, I pitched it as I think a 5-year series, 5 or 6 years, you know.
Yeah.
And then as I started outlining the whole story, I was like, well, I can do that, but it'll really stretch it out, you know. And so I thought, well, what if I did it in 3 years and just tried to pack everything I could into a tighter space, and I think it's better for it.
Okay. So you have about 3 years, so that's about 35, 36 issues or so?
Yeah, 36. It'll be like 30, it'll probably be like 38 or 39, because there's the issue 0 that came out, which was like short stories that I had done, like prequel short stories.
Okay.
And then I just finished issue 18, which is going to be sort of a standalone story that I hadn't. It was a character I wanted to do, and then I was like, I had an idea to flesh out this character and have like a standalone story that would work with it. So that's going to be like a bonus issue. So probably 1 or 2 issues a year will be just like a bonus issue that with an idea I'll come up with.
Cool. Now, one thing that was standing out to me is the very first cover of the first issue. I mean, I saw that, you know, from the book, and I was like, okay, and what's this about? Because it's Maru, but then at the top of her head is all these different little people, right?
Yeah.
That was, I don't know, it was one of those just like, okay, I need to know what's going on here. You know, this is interesting. You know, what's this about? You have the words mind management, which is obviously you know something, you know, okay, managing people's minds, and you have this girl with people on top of her head. So,
yeah.
How was it designing that one? I mean, when you first showed that cover to Dark Horse, what was the reaction? It was like, you know.
Yeah, honestly it was a struggle. You know, like I'm used to designing book covers for graphic novels, and they're always hard. You know, like it takes a long time, and like to me, the cover has to do a bunch of different things. Like it has to tease the inside, tell the story, look cool, and that's hard. So, and especially for a first issue, I'm like, well, it has to. You know, I went through a lot of different variations on it, and then the final piece, like someone wanted to buy the original art, and I'm like, man, you don't want the original art. It's like 10 different pieces of paper, like all together, and then tweaked in Photoshop, and then colored, and then recolored. Like it's a mess. And he ended up buying it. Like I could tape together like 2 or 3 of the main drawings and collage them into something that looked like the finished cover, but it was rough.
Yeah, I mean, it's given the pressure. This very unique idea, and you have to sell it to people without spoiling it. You know, because you know you have the vision, you know, what you want to do with it, but you want them to take the journey. You don't want to tell them, say, okay, this is, you know. So.
Yeah, no, it was tough, you know. And then, but once I got the first cover done, the rest of them were easy because I was basically going to do character portraits, you know, for the first 6 issues, and then those just became easy. It's like, oh, I'll do the guy with the scars, and I'll do Henry Lyme with his sunglasses, and the rest of them seemed to follow pretty easily after I got that first one done.
Which of the agents is your favorite? Do you have one?
Yeah, I mean, I like Duncan. You know, the guy, he can sort of like, I mean, he can do everything cool. He can see the future, and then he can kill you with his fingers. So I think I might have overloaded. And then he's got like he went on all these crazy missions. So I'm not sure how far you have read, but there's a couple of issues that are more about him, and it sort of just shows glimpses of all these adventures he's had in the past, because he's a little bit older than the rest of them.
Sure, yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just. He has a big, long history that would be cool. Like, he could have his own book on his own. So he's probably my favorite. And then,
are we gonna have a spin-off, Mind Management, the Duncan Files?
Yeah, go ahead. What's that? I'm sorry, you're breaking up a little bit.
Sorry. Are we gonna get a spin-off, Mind Management, the Duncan Files?
Yeah, we could. Like, I have a plan for the main story, which is like a 3-year plan. But after that, I have ideas for like mind management in every generation. So it's like 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Okay. So there could be that. And honestly, there is going to be something after mind management that is a mind management project. I won't talk about it now because it's not quite done yet, but it's going to be cool. So yeah, there's going to be more mind management after the series is done. It might take a little bit of a different form.
Sure. One thing I want to bring up when talking about the art is your use of the page, particularly the sides of the page with the field guides and everything.
Yeah.
That's awesome. The one thing, when I bought the book, the guy said, look at the entire page. Okay. Oh, hey! I just, some of the other stuff is like little doodles on the side. Like, this is awesome. The whole idea that the page is like is from the manual and everything is...
Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, that's part of the thing. I want to have fun with it too. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you come up with, let's do something different with the page, and that's, because your typical, comic book is, you generally the 2x3 layouts, and then there's like a white background or so. It's cool. It's cool to see more use of the empty spaces, as actually, content.
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, that's just wasted space if there's not something on it, to a degree.
Yeah.
Space is good sometimes. But yeah, part of that is I stopped reading monthly books, and I was just waiting for trade paperbacks all the time. And I'm like, what can I do with this book that would make it different, that would make people want to pick it up and maybe read it as a monthly again instead of trade paperback. So that was one of the challenges was to figure out a way to do that where it still works as a book when you collect it. But there's little bonuses for people that buy the monthlies, And so that stuff on the edges, that shows up in the book too. But I'm having more fun with like the inside covers and the back covers, like the back covers of the first 6 issues. Did you read the issues or the trade?
The trades.
Okay.
The issues. I've seen
hard
one
to
for as
find.
much as like $50. So.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one thing I hadn't counted on because I've only done graphic novels, so I was like, the idea of it being collectible was something that sort of caught me by surprise, which is a little bit of a bummer. But I'm trying to keep those issues in print. So I know Dark Horse did a reprint of issue 1.
Yeah, I'd love to trade this down, but I was saying like, okay, $50 for issue 1.
Yeah, I know. So hopefully people, buy the first trade and then keep up with the issues, because I'm trying to do things with those back covers that sort of like work as a puzzle where you put them together and they form a bigger image, and then there's like codes on those where you put those together and it leads to stuff online and just other things. So the comic, first of all, I want the story to just be good, and second of all, I like it to be sort of immersive or interactive, so you're looking at the edges and you're not trusting anything at all in that book. So like even I want everybody reading the credits every issue just to make sure there's not something in there,
Exactly.
So far I haven't done anything, but I will one day. I'll put something in there. It'll be the issue you didn't look at it.
You hear that, listeners? Read everything.
Yeah.
So it really is a fun book to read. That's it really isn't anything like it, and that's one reason I love like publishers like Dark Horse and Image. You get these weird stories,
Yeah, no, it's great. And honestly, all credit to Dark Horse. They basically let me run wild with it. I can do anything I want. And I don't know if there's another publisher that would do a monthly book where there's no ads, and if there are ads, they're ads I made that are part of the story. Or
the ad man. He's fun.
Exactly. That's that's the kind of stuff I really wanted to have fun with, but there's not a lot of publishers you can do that with. So having home with Dark Horses is, I can't say enough good about it.
Oh yeah.
And and they let me do crazy stuff every month. And my poor editor, and it's like I'll come up with ideas at the last second. I'm like, oh, I got this great idea, but it's going to involve you editing basically a whole chapter of a sci-fi novel that you weren't planning on doing. I know you're, I know you want to, but it's going to be a good idea. So yeah, my editor's great. Brandon Wright does an awesome job. And keeps me from making horrible mistakes.
Nice. So, are there any comics now that you're reading, like current ones that are being published that you're reading? Or...
Yeah, it's funny. I have no time to read. I'm working so much lately, so I'm reading. It takes me forever to get through like one graphic novel. Let me look around. I'm in my studio, so I can. I'm rereading All Star Superman.
Nice.
Out. There's that.
Sweet.
I couldn't find Volume 2, so I had to rebuy it. I'm like, I don't know. So I'm doing that. What else? There's a stack of stuff. I have a stack of Before Watchmen. It was on my pull list. It's basically all of them. It was on my pull list forever, and I haven't gone into the comic shop until for like months. So I have a stack of that. So I can't tell you if those are good or not. Sweet Tooth. I have the last 2 volumes of Sweet Tooth. Don't tell Jeff Lemire. No, I told him already. He knows. He's like, did you read issue 40? I'm like, no, dude, I'm so far behind.
Been meaning to read that one. I just picked up his new one, Trillium, came out today.
Yeah, how's it? Yeah, I haven't been out of the house all day, so
yeah, it's really interesting because it's two-sided with the 2 stories. So
yeah. No, it's cool. He was telling me all about it, and he's been sending me PDFs of the art, and I think it's gonna be crazy good.
Yeah, I mean, it's anything judged by the first issue. I haven't read Sweet Tooth yet. Just one of my, I plan on it, but if anything judged by this first issue, Trillium's gonna be fun. So.
No, I can't wait.
So, been reading Preacher. I got picked up those trades the other week, so I was going through that one.
Yeah. Gosh, I haven't read that forever. I have all the books, but I haven't read them in like 10 years.
So, in addition to Mind Management, you're going to be doing Suicide Squad for DC. Is that right?
Yeah.
So, how'd that come about? There.
It's just that I was already working with Jeff Johns on a bunch of Forever Evil tie-ins. So I was doing I'm doing JLA. I'm going to do the 5 issues that tie into that, and then what else am I doing? Argus, which is a new series. So they asked me to do that, and that was one where the editor called and he's like, "Hey, I know you're busy, but we want to do this. We want to launch Argus, and it's going to be like spies in the DC universe, And I was like, man, I don't have time. I just can't do it. And then I was like going to bed that night, and I'm like, somebody else is going to be writing like a spy DCU thing, and it's not going to be me. And so I called him back the next day. I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking. I'll do it.
Sweet.
So I'm totally overbooked on that, but that's turning out awesome. And so then they asked me to do Suicide Squad to tie into Forever Evil 2 because it was hitting right at that right time, and I was like, yeah, and I'll do that too. It was a little bit of a bummer because I liked what Alesh, I think that's how you say his name. His was awesome. His run was great. I was like, oh man,
yeah, and that
I don't want to do it, but
the book's been kind of higher and low, and there's been some really good. And that was kind of like around where like the Death of the Family, I wasn't so keen with it. Then his run brought it back. So
yeah.
So what are your ideas for these group of let's call them characters? They're not heroes, so protagonists though.
Yeah, no. What's the plan? I don't know how much I can spoil. I'll tell you that they I really wanted to do more with Belle Reeve, because it seems like it's just sort of a generic place that we see, and then they go do something, But I wanted to try to make Belle Reeve a character, kind of like Arkham Asylum is sort of, what I mean? Like Arkham Asylum has its own personality in a weird way. So I want to kind of do that, and so it's Belle Reeve centric for a lot of it. But there's also going to be there's some crazy stuff. I have a reverse Suicide Squad that's good guys recruited to do bad, and then they have to fight the Suicide Squad, or bad guys recruited to do good, so then they have to fight. And that's the high concept for that.
Nice.
So that was kind of fun to come up with heroes that would be fighting for the bad guys.
Okay.
And then figure out how to make that work,
Right, like the blackmail or whatever. So.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. And then, so that's all I really can say.
Sure, right. Cause I haven't seen that out yet, so you can't really say.
That's going to be cool.
I'm excited. So because when I hear your name, it was back around. Okay, maybe time to start checking it back out again. So plenty of Deadshot and Harley.
Yeah, no, definitely pick it up. See what you think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're like the mainstays, you know. And they had me do those villain issues, so they asked me to do Harley and Deadshot. And so I made it so that those two sort of work together. They work separately if you read them, but then they also work together and come together at the end if you read both of them.
Nice.
And then both of those will lead right into Suicide Squad. So it's kind of like they're self-contained stories that sort of still like kick off the next part. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, so that should be fun. So.
Yeah.
Especially the way you write your villains in management.
No, it'll be great. I was thinking, honestly, like, Harley Quinn was... I really didn't want to write her, because I was like, I don't really know, like, other than, you know, what Bruce Timm... Was it Bruce Timm? Who did the... Gosh, I can't... the Harley Quinn one-shot from a while.
Oh.
Like, the classic.
Right. I'm blanking now, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh. That's when I do interviews. I was totally talking about it the other day, and I knew... Mad Love, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was like the greatest Harley Quinn story to me, and I was like, well, I don't know, I can't really beat that, but I'll try. You know, I told my editor, I'm going to try to beat that. And then when I was done writing, I was like, I don't know, I didn't beat it, but I definitely, like, there's a new angle I got on Harley Quinn that I think is interesting, or makes her more interesting to me.
Cool. She's one of those characters that it's kind of easy to dumb her down a bit, you know, because she does have this kind of complex side to her. So. Yeah,
no, and that's the thing, and I kind of had a problem with that. With her being so dumb, you know,
right? Or
being portrayed that way, and I was like, I don't really think she's dumb. I think she
was a doctor, so
yeah, exactly. And so that's where I kind of went with it. I'm like, well, there's a aspect of her, or one of her sides that is sort of the dumb ditzy front that she puts on, but then I wanted to show kind of how it works with the other side, which was the smart, super intelligent, you know, psychologist. Which one is it?
Psychiatrist, I think.
So. I said something in an interview and I said it wrong before, and they're like, it was like, it's a psychiatrist. I'm like, yeah, okay, whichever one it is, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. She works with crazy people.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So, what comics were you reading? I mean, generally, since you're writing comics, you had to, you know, be into comics when you're growing up or something. What are some of the things that you read that kind of influenced you that made you say, oh, hey, I want to do this kind of thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up on Frank Miller's Daredevil, which is a bad way to grow up. And then Dark Knight came out, and I was buying the issues. I was waiting, like, whatever, months between issues for those to come out.
Oh,
I'm
man,
like, this is blowing my mind. Yeah. And it was just, like, it hit me right at the right time, too. I was probably, like, 15 or something. I'm like, this is, like, the best comics I've ever read.
Nice.
And then, of course, I always had Watchmen laying around, and I would read it, and I'm like, yeah, I think I like this. And then I read it again, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And then I read it like 10 times since it came out, you know. And so that was always great. But I think, as I got older, I was like, I don't know, I'm kind of burned out on superheroes. And then I started reading 8-Ball by Dan Clowes.
Okay.
And when that came out, I was like, man, this is it. These are like weird stories. They're not superheroes, but they're still weird, and it's fiction. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of crazy stuff happening. And those are the books where I was like, this is what I want to do this for a living. You know, this is the kind of thing I could do. And of course, what I'm doing is end up being way different than that. But it inspired me to do something that wasn't superheroes, but still was like a genre. You know, like I still like genre fiction. You know, but I try to put like an interesting twist on it.
Yeah, that's all I got. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So
yeah, no problem.
I enjoyed the book greatly. So, and I'll let you know when this gets posted on the site. So.
Yeah, thanks. Give me a link. And sorry about yesterday. We were out shopping for stuff. We're going on a trip, and then I was like, oh, we were super late. We didn't eat dinner until like 8:30.
No problem. I understand it all. So again, I appreciate it and keep up the great work. So
cool. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, have a good night.
All right. Thanks. You too.
Once again, that was Matt Kindt, author and artist for Mind MGMT, whom I thank greatly for joining me tonight. Also, a big thanks to everyone at Dark Horse, especially Ob and Jeremy for setting this interview up, and to you, listener, for joining us. The first collection of Mind MGMT is now available, with the second coming shortly, and issue 14 arrives this month. I'm Greg with the Game Fanatics, and have a good night, true believers.